I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Sitting, standing, kneeling, hands folded or raised, may the words we speak with our lips be what we believe in our hearts. And what we believe in our hearts may we share each day with one another. In that spirit, let us share our meal. Amen.
Enjoy your breakfast. Are present with us, namely the Gordon-Flory family. Where are you? Let's recognize the Gordon-Flory family. Thank you for your continued support. The objective of the Mayor's Prayer Breakfast is to overcome barriers that exist among people in our community and to create an atmosphere of acceptance and respect, regardless of an individual's religious beliefs. Our theme this year is charity, a privilege that connects us. Our statement of purpose can be found in the program booklets at your table. Please take a moment to review it. Our statement highlights the diverse religious history of our area, our strong human spirit, and the tradition of collaboration which connects all of us. I'd like to thank the members of the Planning Committee, the Voluntary Action Center, Carol Belcher, who has been invaluable. Carol, wherever you are, thank you so much for staffing this committee. I'd like to thank Lisa McConnell, the new director of the Advanced Scranton High School Chorus, Leanna Mobley, her predecessor, who we are fortunate to have with us this morning, and the members of the Scranton High Advanced Chorus. I'd also like to acknowledge the sponsors and patrons for their continued support and generosity. Their commitment makes it possible for many area high school and college students to participate in this important program. So we thank you very, very much. And we have a list of our sponsors in the program booklet as well. We'd also like to acknowledge the Radisson Hotel staff. Great people, wonderful community service, customer service, I should say, well, also community service. Thank you so much, everyone. There are several dignitaries in the room this morning we wish to acknowledge. Commissioners Washoe and O'Brien, thank you for joining us. Honorable judges seated at the front table here, thank you so much for being part of our program. Current mayors, former mayors, mayors of the surrounding municipalities in Lackawanna County and outside of Lackawanna County. I think we have the mayor of Hazleton with us this morning. Also, Bishop Anthony Makowski is with us. He is the Bishop Ordinary of the Central Diocese of the Polish National Catholic Church, and also here to support Lisa McConnell, a member of his church. City Council members are here as well, so thank you. And Frank, I see Frank over there. Hi, Frank, Representative Shimkus. And if there are any other state, local representatives in the room, please stand and be acknowledged. Thank you so much. I'm pleased to introduce our head table. To my far left, Planning Committee members, Cynthia Timko, Professor Riaz Hussain from the University of Scranton, Attorney Rich Bishop, Mary Ciala, Mr. John Blake, congratulations, John, being named Deputy Secretary of the Pennsylvania Office of Economic and Community Development, Gary Drapek, our keynote speaker, and the Honorable Mayor Chris Doherty. To my immediate right, former mayors of the City of Scranton, the Honorable Dave Wenzel, the Honorable Eugene Peters, the Honorable James Connors, Congressman Paul Kanjorski, and our very young Girl Scout leaders, Bonnie Smith and Sahara Wharton. Before we move on with our program, I'm going to ask for a special moment of silence to reflect on the contributions of one of our longstanding committee members, Mr. David Samuel, who passed away earlier this year. He was a great contributor, strong supporter, and Dave's passing has created a big hole in our efforts, and his family is with us this morning, and we thank them very much for joining us. Let's take a moment of silence. Thank you. Dr. Hussain?
Good morning, everyone. It's an honor for me to be here to do a reading from the Quran. I have chosen chapter 93. This is a short chapter with only 11 verses in it. Let me first present a short introduction. The Quran is a sacred text for the Muslims. It was revealed to the Prophet Muhammad about 1400 years ago over a period of 23 years. When you read the Quran in its original Arabic, you are struck by the rhyming prose. It is almost like poetry. Some people can recite the Quran so well that it can bring tears to the eyes of the audience. The message in the Quran is simple. It brings hope after a period of darkness. It promises that things will get better. Prophet Muhammad was born an orphan, and he was quite desperate at one time. God encouraged him to spread his word. The message in the Quran instructs us to help the poor and the orphan, and that is the theme here, charity. So this is chapter 93, first in Arabic, then in English. Bismillahir-Rahmanir-Rahim. Wadduha wal-layli iza saja ma waddaka rabbuka wa ma kala walal akhiratu khairul laka minal ula walasawfa yu'tika rabbuka fatarda alam yajidka yatiman fa'awa وَوَجَدَكَ ضَالًّا فَهَدَى وَوَجَدَكَ عَائِلًا فَأَغْنَى فَأَمَّا الْيَتِيمَ فَلَا تَقْهَرْ وَأَمَّا السَّائِلَ فَلَا تَنْهَرْ وَأَمَّا بِنِعْمَةِ رَبِّكَ فَحَدِّثْ. In the name of Allah, most gracious, most merciful. By the glorious morning light and by the night when it is still, your Lord has not forsaken thee and does not hate thee. And verily, the latter part will be better for you than the former. And verily, your Lord will give you so that you will be content. Did he not find you an orphan and protect you? Did he not find you lost and gave you direction? Did he not find you destitute and enrich you? Therefore, do not oppress the orphan. Therefore, do not repel the beggar. Therefore, let the bounty of your Lord be your discourse. Thank you.
The Jewish word tzedakah comes from the root word tzedek, justice. While usually translated as the word charity, it means we must take care of others in order to make this world a just world. Hillel, a famous Jewish sage in the 1st century, once said, "If I am not for myself, who will be for me?" This teaches us that each of us must be number one. Each of us must take care of ourselves first. He goes on to say, "If I am only for myself, what am I?" This teaches us that each of us must care for others and not only for ourselves. And Hillel concludes, "If not now, when?" This teaches us that each of us must do this today. My reading will be from Deuteronomy chapter 24. When you reap the harvest in your field and overlook a sheaf in the field, do not turn back to get it. It shall go to the stranger, the fatherless, and the widow, in order that the Lord your God may bless you in all your undertakings. When you beat down the fruit of your olive trees, do not go over them again. That shall go to the stranger, the fatherless, and the widow. When you gather the grapes of your vineyard, do not pick it over again. That shall go to the stranger, the fatherless, and the widow. Always remember that you were a slave in the land of Egypt. Therefore do I enjoin you to observe this commandment. Thank you.
I will be sharing a reading from 1 Corinthians chapter 12 and 13. There are a diversity of gifts, but the same Spirit. There are difference of ministries, but the same Lord. There are diversities of activities, but it is the same God who works in all. But the manifestation of the Spirit is given to each one for the profit of all. But earnestly desire the best gifts, and yet I'll show you a more excellent way. Though I speak with tongues of men and of angels, but have not love, I have become a sounding brass or a clanging cymbal. And though I have the gift of prophecy and understand all mysteries and all knowledge, and though I have all faith so that I could move mountains, but have not love, I am nothing. And though I bestow all my goods to feed the poor, and though I give my body to be burned, but have not love, it profits me nothing. Love suffers long, is kind. Love does not envy. Love does not parade itself. It is not puffed up, does not behave rudely, and does not seek its own. It is not provoked and thinks no evil, does not rejoice in the iniquities, but rejoices in the truth, bears all things, believes all things, hopes all things, endures all things. Love never fails.
How about these fine young ladies and gentlemen? My goodness. Mayor Doherty, elected officials, reverend clergy, leaders of our faith communities, distinguished guests, and friends all, good morning. To all of you, let me express greetings and all best wishes from Governor Rendell, from the members of his cabinet, and indeed from all the executive and legislative leaders of the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, some of whom are here today. It is once again a deep honor for me to join you and to have this privilege to mark an extraordinary milestone, 45 years of interfaith respect and community. I want to thank the members of the Prayer Breakfast Committee for this honor. I also want to express a kind welcome and a word of thanks to Gary Drapek, our keynote speaker this morning. My remarks will be brief, but I do want to share with you a few things that have happened since the last time I joined you to share the prayer for the Commonwealth. These recent experiences amplify the amazing tradition and the valuable lessons we take from this breakfast. In July of this year, I had the honor of joining Mayor Doherty to welcome diplomats from over 25 countries from throughout the world to the Scranton Cultural Center. The event was held to support the mission and the work of the Institute on Religion and Public Policy, a Nobel Prize-nominated organization founded in Washington, D.C. by one of Lackawanna County's own. It was a wonderful event, and the people of this great city so impressed officials from around the world that many of them will be returning here in about 3 weeks' time for a conference on religious freedom to be hosted graciously at Marywood University. It's a major event with global reach, graciously hosted again at Marywood. In July, I had the chance to tell diplomats from around the world about the proud legacy of this city and about how faith has been the foundation for all that we are and all that we hope to become. I noted how honored I was to participate in this event, the prayer breakfast, because interfaith respect is such an essential ingredient of a healthy community. And though I'm a public servant by trade, I told the diplomats that all the public investment in the world spent trying to improve the quality of life was no match for that kind of respect. It is, as our founding fathers knew well, absolutely essential to ensure peace and prosperity. As it is Halloween, the Celtic New Year, it's interesting to reflect on the varied belief systems we embrace from our history. We call ourselves many things. We carry the tenets of our faith with pride. But manifest in all faith is humanity. And in it, recognizing our common humanity, we come to know the true ideals commonly expressed in the tenets of our faith: sympathy, compassion, respect, and universal concern. Last night, I had the pleasure to congratulate my uncle, the Reverend William Blake, who was recognized with the Humanitarian Award from the Chapel of the Four Chaplains. For any of the young people in this room who don't know about the story of the Four Chaplains, I encourage you to Google those words, Four Chaplains. Read about how interfaith understanding was expressed in their courage in 1943 during World War II. These four men of different faiths joined in a tragic event of war, and all completely selfless in their conduct, giving up their life jackets on a torpedoed and sinking troop ship, the Dorchester, to save the lives of others. Being at that award ceremony last night for me was an appropriate prelude to this breakfast. Before concluding with the prayer for the Commonwealth, I'd like to mention something I've learned recently in reading about St. Paul, and this is the year of St. Paul. I came across a quote from an important historical figure, perhaps not one we're likely to know very well, but his name was Philip Melanchthon. He was a very persuasive and tempering force in the life of Martin Luther during the Protestant Reformation. Melanchthon, offering counsel to Martin Luther, is quoted as saying this: "In essentials, unity; in non-essentials, liberty; and in all things, charity." Let me repeat that, and please reflect on these words and the utility they can have in your life. In essentials, unity; in non-essentials, liberty; and in all things, charity. A good message for today's interfaith celebration. Our faith is essential, and in it we must find unity. With that, I offer this prayer for the Commonwealth. For all the men and women of our armed forces serving selflessly in harm's way around the world, may they be safe home to their families. For all individuals and families who have suffered from the force of nature and natural disaster, that they know the touch of human kindness, compassion, charity, and support. For leaders in government at all levels, that they find the wisdom and hold to the honesty and integrity necessary for effective governance and to rise to meet the challenges of our time in advancing the public good. For faith leaders here in Scranton, throughout the Commonwealth, that they continue to find common ground and act with mutual respect to meet both the physical and spiritual needs of their communities. And for all of you gathered here, that you find peace of mind, good health, and deep, abiding joy in yourselves, in your families, in your homes, and in your community. This is the prayer for the Commonwealth. Thank you. Rose has given me a distinct honor to introduce our keynote speaker, and I am very grateful for that honor. I'd like to introduce Gary Drapek. He serves as the President and Chief Executive Officer of the United Way of Lackawanna County and has served in that capacity since 2002. He joined the United Way of Lackawanna County in 1987 as the VP of Marketing and Public Relations, a position he had held for several years. He has served as a trainer for the National Academy of Volunteerism, where he was a consultant and workshop presenter on numerous communication topics and techniques. He has presented to businesses and nonprofit organizations throughout the country, and his work has been rightfully recognized by several prestigious organizations, including the United States Department of Defense for development and coordination of a national home front support program during Operation Desert Storm. He is the author of 3 published works on effective communication techniques. Mr. Drapek is a graduate of Penn State University, serves on the board of many local and state community organizations, and is the chairman of the board of directors of the United Way of the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. He resides in Scranton with his wife Susan and daughter Laura Elizabeth. Please join me in extending a warm welcome to an extraordinary community servant, Mr. Gary Drapek.
Thank you. Thank you, John. I have to say it was a real honor when I was asked by the Prayer Breakfast Committee to address you with a few remarks today. I was telling Rose on the way in that my first Prayer Breakfast meeting that I went to was, I think I was a junior in high school at West Scranton, and the mayor at that time was Gene Hickey. And I think I've been at every one since, just about, maybe 4 years when I was in college. So this has really been a true honor. The other thing I want to tell you is that Rose on the way in whispered in my ear and she said, "We're running a little late, so how long is your speech?" And I said, "Lunch will be served at 11:30, so settle in." But in all honesty, driving in here this morning, I was reminded of some advice that was given to me a few years ago by our old friend, Monsignor Andy McGowan. I was doing a similar presentation, it has to be about 15 years ago, and it was a breakfast meeting, and I said to Monsignor McGowan, I said, "Could you give me any advice?" And he said, "Gary, the best advice I can give you for a breakfast meeting is this. When you're a speaker at a breakfast meeting, you can be compared to the body at a good old Irish wake." That was a little odd. He said, "You know, they can't have the party without you, but they don't expect you to say much." So I'll try to keep his sentiments in mind this morning. But our theme for this year is charity and interdependence, and honestly, I can think of no better topic, especially during these troubling times that we're all in. I'd like you to take just a moment and take a look around this room. Just take a quick look around this room. Over 600 participants, community leaders, elected officials, CEOs, everyday people, students, who take a day on a Friday morning to celebrate our faith, to celebrate our collective interdependence, to celebrate our collective acts of goodwill. I know of no other community that celebrates this type of faith and interdependence like ours. And I think this event itself is a prime example of our charity and interdependence. Now, I'm blessed to work in a profession where I experience this interdependence daily. And I'm constantly amazed at the quiet acts of kindness that are going on in this community 365 days of the year. The great rabbi and philosopher Maimonides once said that the greatest form of charity is when the giver doesn't know the receiver and the receiver doesn't know the giver. And I'll tell you, that happens in our community day in and day out, 7 days a week. Now, my friends, I had to bring this up. The word change has been thrown around so often during this political season that I'm really afraid that it's become so watered down and it has truly lost its meaning. But true and meaningful change does not come from Washington. And it doesn't come from any one political candidate, nor does it come from the top down. It bubbles up. It bubbles up from each of us. And it bubbles up without fanfare, and it bubbles up without national campaigns or political platforms. True change and true interdependence is the change that we make every single day in the lives of those in need who are around us. Charity, on the other hand, immediately brings to mind a donation of cash or a great pledge of sums of money. Now, I'll tell you, for those of us in the business of helping people every day, that's a needed commodity. But the kind of charity that we experience right here in our community every single day doesn't always involve reaching your hand into your pocket, but it involves reaching your outstretched hand to someone in need, to embrace the problems that they have. The Bible talks to us about communities like being parts of a body. We all need our eyes, we need our arms, we need our legs, we need our brain to be whole. Likewise, a community needs each of our individual talents and gifts, and even our needs to be whole. No matter what our social status or state in life, we need each other in order to be whole. Our charity is not only in giving, but also in accepting the outstretched hand. In accepting, we provide the giver with a feeling of worth and goodwill. And in giving, we provide the receiver with a true feeling of love and a true feeling of comfort. Now, I know that we all have our examples of this type of charity and interdependence. I mean, if you look around our world, there's examples of this type of charity and interdependence all around us. The Dalai Lama, Martin Luther King, Mother Teresa, and even people like Warren Buffett and Bill Gates. But sometimes we fail to appreciate the interdependence and charity that is all around us in everyday life. And I think maybe, just maybe, we fail to see this interdependence because it has become so commonplace that we take it for granted. I'd like to just take a moment to give you my own personal example of this interdependence, my own personal hero, if you will. Now, this isn't a national or an international figure, and Lord knows you're not going to read about her in the morning paper or see her on the evening news. But this is a dear friend who has experienced unspeakable tragedy in her life. Every minute of every day dealing with the sudden death of a 4-year-old child. Caring for another son who was afflicted with special mental challenges. And also providing daily support for her mom, who is suffering for Alzheimer's disease. Yet every day she gets up, she goes to work, and she works at an organization where she's helping her neighborhood, her community, her families, and her friends succeed. I once asked her where she musters the strength just to get out of bed in the morning, and her response was inspiring. She said, "I literally feel the hand of God on my shoulder, helping me along, through the actual hands of kindness extended from those who have reached out to give me support." Now, to me, this is a true hero, and this is the perfect example of community and the interdependence that we all share every day. Ladies and gentlemen, together, we can accomplish what no government, no organization, no company, or no individual can accomplish on their own. By pooling our resources and our talents, reaching out a hand to others, we join together to bolster our community and truly make meaningful and long-lasting change in the lives of those who walk by us each and every day. Yes, these are challenging times, but the challenge brings with it the unique opportunity to join hands, to open our hearts, and ensure that our community remains strong, vibrant, and safe. Now, I'd like to share with you a personal epiphany that literally hit me across the face a few years ago, that really made this sense of interdependence vividly clear to me. A few weeks following the tragedy of September 11, 2001, I was glued to the television set, and I was listening to and watching a well-known political leader deliver what I thought was a riveting speech on the current condition of our economic and domestic, or our world and domestic situation. He began with the statement, "Like it or not, we live in challenging times." The speaker went on to describe the horrors of war, terrorism in our own country and abroad, a world on the verge of nuclear and biological disasters, civil and political unrest, and a general feeling of fear and uncertainty that held a tight grip on neighborhoods across our country. No doubt the presentation was a timely reflection, considering the horror that we all experienced just a few weeks prior when our own homeland was attacked. But the political leader wasn't President Bush, and it wasn't Colin Powell, and it wasn't Donald Rumsfeld. Nor was the speech given in relation to the events of September 11th or the impending war with Iraq. The speaker I was listening to just weeks after the September 11th attack was Bobby Kennedy. The speech was given in Johannesburg, South Africa, and the year was 1967. During the replay of Senator Kennedy's speech, the television screen lit up with video footage showing the carnage of the Vietnam War, the Watts riots, civil rights marches, businesses and communities across our country in flames, and general destruction throughout our nation. Now, while my attention was being drawn to the television screen, I was oblivious to the fact that my then 7-year-old daughter was sitting on the couch next to me, and she was soaking up all these scenes as well. And midway through the replay of Senator Kennedy's speech, I feel his tap on my shoulder, and my daughter looked at me and said, "Daddy, are they doing it to us again?" So, it was at this point that my own memories came flooding back. I realized that during the turbulent times of the 60s, as described by Bobby Kennedy, I was about the same age as my daughter was then. I vividly remember my parents wondering out loud about a nuclear bomb that could reach our shores by some place by the name of Cuba. I remember being hoarded into an auditorium at my elementary school for 3 days watching the events surrounding the president's assassination. I remember trying to figure out what a fallout shelter was and why it was in the basement of the church across the street from my house. And I remember watching clips of the Vietnam War, and I remember feeling scared that they were doing it to us again. I vividly remember my parents' horror when Martin Luther King was assassinated, and then the unthinkable. The president's own little brother was shot and killed. But most especially, of all that, most especially, I remember my great-grandmother sitting in her chair and wondering out loud if this was the end of the world. But you know what? The world didn't end. Now, you must admit the similarities of the situations of the 60s and the situations of today are uncanny. War, terrorism, fear, and uncertainty. And leave it to the brilliance of a 7-year-old to make that point clear to me. So I guess the question becomes, why did we survive? Why didn't the world end as predicted by my great-grandmother? I think the answer is partly because of the leadership of the day, but in greater measure, it was because of what I like to call the quiet nobility of our country, our everyday heroes. Individuals who silently and without fanfare went about their daily business, helping their neighbors, improving their neighborhoods, caring for their friends, families, and one another, with no thought of reward, just because it was the right thing to do. Now, if history has taught us anything, it is that each one of us are vulnerable to tragedy. Tragedy can enter into our lives with the blink of an eye. Now, maybe not so grand as on the scale of the 60s or of September 11th, but tragedy just the same. The family in West Side, whose home burns to the ground and they're left with nothing. The couple in Dixon City whose child is born with physical or mental challenges. Or the son in Taylor who learns for the first time that his mom is beginning to go down that excruciating path known as Alzheimer's disease. Tragedies that happen every day in our families, in our neighborhoods, and in our community. But we do survive, don't we? We survive because of the interdependence and charity that we all share. We survive because of people like each one of you, the everyday heroes who come to the aid of those in need by way of your volunteers and financial support of your church, of social service agencies, and yes, of organizations like the United Way. Can you imagine for a minute what our community would be like without such caring people and such dedicated organizations? Now, a few years ago, I had left the United Way and accepted an amazing position with Phil Condren at Condren & Company, which is a local advertising agency. I basically worked 9 to 5, met some outstanding people, was generously compensated. He's not here, is he? No. Okay. And basically spent my days visiting clients, writing ad copy for car dealers, hospitals, educational institutions, and others. And it was a great job by all measures. When the opportunity arose to come back to the United Way, I was torn. A great job versus the 24/7 pressure cooker of raising funds and providing services in our community. So I spoke to Phil about my dilemma, and he gave me some of the best advice I've ever received. I told him, he asked me, what do you want to do with your life? And I told him that there was a big part of me that missed the work of the United Way. I missed interacting with our agencies and clients. I missed the incredible staff and the one-of-a-kind volunteers that make up the United Way. And I especially missed the feeling that you got when someone stopped you on the street and thanked you for helping their daughter, their son, or their family. He then asked if I thought there was something I could do to make it better. And I responded that I wasn't sure, but maybe if I tried, maybe if I had some time, maybe I could make it a little better. So Phil took a deep breath and a sip of his Diet Coke, and he looked me squarely in the eyes and said, well, Drapek, you're not dead yet. And I'm looking around this room. None of us are dead yet. We still have time, we still have a chance, and we still have an opportunity to make significant changes in the lives of those who walk by us every day. So I'm here this morning to simply say thank you. Thank you for your commitment to others, for your concern for your neighbors, and thank you on behalf of the thousands of people whom you are helping every day with your kindness to survive. So I wonder what my daughter will tell her children about her own memories of being a 7-year-old. Surely she will tell them of the horror and fear of the day, but I hope she will also remember the kindness and the outpouring of love and support, and how fortunate she is to be living in a country, and especially a community such as ours. Remember, never underestimate the power of your actions. With one small charitable gesture, you can change a person's life forever, for better or for worse. The choice is all yours. God puts all of us in each other's lives to impact one another in some way. Always, always look for God in others. Thank you.
Gary, thank you very much. Excellent speech. Rose Broderick, thank you for giving your charitable time each year to putting this event together. As Mayor Wenzel and Mayor Peters and Mayor Connors know, we have very little to do with this event. It is Rose and her committee that give of their time to bring us together so that we are mindful of all the things that we have going on in our lives, and we stop and reflect about our differences, but how those differences make us realize that we are all the same. So thank you very much, Rose. Outstanding. Gary, thank you very much again for the speech. You just really reminded all of us, and those of us who are in leadership in this county know how giving we are as a community. We truly give to each other and care for each other. And it really is one of the strengths of Lackawanna County and the city of Scranton. To get together on a Friday morning, to reflect, and to reach out to one another, especially to remind us today, because we are headed for some tough times, that we've been doing this all of our lives. And so as we head into maybe more difficult times, our lives won't change. We're the same people we were yesterday as we are today, but understanding that we have to give to each other and also maybe ask for help too. It's the strength of the city of Scranton, it's the strength of Lackawanna County, and as the mayor of Scranton, I simply say, thank you very much for what you do every day for us. Thank you.
points I'd like to make before we proceed to our closing prayer. There's a special recognition two special recognitions that we'd like to present this morning. Mrs. Samuel, we want you to know that we're going to keep you and your family in our thoughts and prayers, and we have a special plaque that we'd like to present to you after our program today. Just a small token of our appreciation for your support of your husband and his support of the Mayor's Prayer Breakfast. Thank you. And then, secondly and finally, it is a great honor for me to recognize the efforts of a very, very special person who is with us this morning for her dedication and outstanding leadership as an integral participant in the Mayor's Prayer Breakfast program. This person has led the efforts of the advanced chorus at Scranton High School for many years. I've been on this committee for over 15 years, and she's been very active with us. She retired from the Scranton School District recently, and we just have been inspired by her love of music and her commitment to the youth of our community and bringing a wonderful sense of pride to the Mayor's Prayer Breakfast. For her long-standing dedication and support, we are pleased to present a plaque recognizing Miss Leanne Amabile. Please stand and come forward. Thank you for your brilliant efforts, Leanne. While she's approaching the head table, let me just read this plaque. It states, presented to Leanne Amabile in recognition of your outstanding leadership and contributions to the music program at Scranton High School and for your gift of the wonderful student voices of the Scranton High School Advanced Chorus to the program of the Mayor's Prayer Breakfast. Thank you. You are a wonderful, wonderful lady. Thank you. And we're going to hear from the chorus again before we leave this room. At this time, I'd like to call on Cynthia Timko, who will offer the closing prayer, and then we'll have our recessional hymn. And I wish you all a wonderful day. Thank you.
Let us pray. Heavenly Father, seated in the warmth of your charity here today, give us humble hearts to know your power and grateful minds to know your joy. Show us the freedom and forgiveness, Lord, and let us leave here today with giving hearts, willing hands, and clearer eyes that see that we are all one, connected soul to soul within the perfect charity of your divine heart. Amen.
Thank you very much and have a wonderful day. See you next year.